All right, here we are. We're live. It's Wednesday morning. Still in the middle of winter. Yes, you have woken up and it's dark at 6 o'clock. Nothing we can do about that. That's just the way it goes. Sorry about that. I can't help it. Don't blame me. Don't shoot the messenger. And yeah, we could be load chat at any given moment, but Flax and I were talking about this just a moment ago. Because Michael Flax is our special guest host this morning. We were both saying this. There's no point in moaning about this stuff. If it's better if they stick to a schedule, then at least you know you can deal with it and work around it. But otherwise, you're screwed. How you doing, Flax? Nice to see you, dude. You good?
Oh, good to see you too. I can't complain. I'm just trying to figure out why it gets colder when we passed halfway through winter.
Oh, I know. There's something weird. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "Oh, it hasn't been such a cold winter. It's not so bad." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. It's all in the eye of the beholder. It's like if you say someone is good looking, or you say, something is great or it's shit. It's all up to the person who's perceiving it. I've always found like July is way worse than June, and people say to me, no, but the middle of winter is on the calendar. It's in June. So once you've passed through June, it gets better from there. And I'm like, no. July is the shittiest of all. It's like, and it also looks the bleakest because if you're lucky at the beginning of June, there's still some leaves on the trees. Things are still a little bit green. It's not that brown and that yellow and that gray that you get, especially in Gauteng. I know that the Cape has these beautiful winters where it rains, so there's still a lot that's green. We don't get that here. Here it's just dull, and you look around, and I don't know. I've always found, and I don't get depressed. I'm not a depressed person at all, but I find July is a bit depressing, and August's not much better because there's so much wind and shit. So once August and July are over, then I'm happy. Then September, bring it on. It's like my whole mood improves in leaps and bounds from there on in.
I've never actually thought about it, but I think I agree that July's pretty dull. Like, nothing raves, nothing happens in July. July's just a month. And then August, September, spring starts kicking in, starts getting lighter, birds stop chirping brighter.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's birthday is in July. And then my brother and I are in August. And then luckily for my mom and my sister, they're both in September. So all three of the guys in our family are like, oh, winter babies.
Those are expensive months. July, August, straight into September.
You're telling me it's crazy. Hey, I saw your mom the other day at the Israeli embassy. There was a big party on for the birthday, and she did all the catering. Damn fine food. I was so annoyed because there were a lot of people, and I was actually really hungry, and I wanted to go back for seconds and things. I thought they'd think I was a pig, but she did the best food. Like I was thinking of just saying to her, listen, you know what? Can't I just buy a whole lot of your stuff and just quietly eat it on my own at home like a pig, and no one will see? Because it was so good, dude. Oh,
it is tasty. We did a poker night. I think it was like two Sundays ago.
How are you not the fattest person in the world with a mom who can make food like that?
I used to be. And then I started portion controls.
Dude, if I were living in your house, I'd be so fat. Well, the house that you grew up in with your mom. I'd have been so fat, I wouldn't have been able to move.
You see, at home, because she cooked for work, she like didn't cook at home because it was like a work thing cooking. And then it was different to like home. So a lot of the time, either we got like leftovers from functions and stuff, or we ate healthy at home.
Well, what do they
but
always
it was
say?
School and the pies that got me.
Yeah, pies. I remember we discussed this on the show years ago. What do they say? The cobbler's children are never shod. Like if your dad makes shoes, then you never have the best shoes. That's just how it works.
So true. Like the plumber will have leaks in his roof because I don't know. That's just how it works.
Yeah. No. It's one of those bizarre like ironies of life. So what's been happening with you, man? What have you been up to?
Oh, this week I'm going on holiday. I need a holiday. I leave on Friday, and I'm like proper holiday where like no laptop, nothing. Like society doesn't
Oh,
exist for the
nice.
next like week after I leave. So I've planned like a bush
Do
holiday.
you, oh, I was going to say, like, have you already chosen the destination, or are you going to just wing it?
No. If you holiday, you plan it. It's like leave. You
Yeah.
literally worked a full month to get like the single day off. So
So where?
eight of
Are you going
me
with
and 8
8
friends
people?
are, yeah. We've
Mm.
got a place in Madikwe
Oh, nice.
and just secluded, like right in the bush. It's gonna be unreal. You have like your own private game driver.
Mm.
And he'll come and fetch you like in the morning when you want and take you out in the evening. It's just
Damn,
proper,
dude.
like the most relaxing holiday. And you
Oh,
have,
that's nice.
I'm sure a lot of places do this, but on like, you know, the porch or balcony or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it,
Mhm.
it overlooks a watering hole. Like they've made a watering hole there.
Oh,
So you literally just chill, have breakfast, and like elephant come along and rhino come along. It's very cool.
I I love that, and it's one of the few things in winter that is really nice, is to go to the bush, because you can obviously make fires, and you dress really warmly, and you go out on these early morning game drives with like a cup of steaming hot coffee, and that kind of thing is fun. And if you do it, you don't have to. The clever thing about that is there's so many of these little private reserves that are opening up that are hugely expensive, but there are also a lot of them that are very reasonable. Like, there's some of them that you can go to, and it doesn't have to cost you an absolute fortune to be there. You can get these places where you can fit like 8, 10 people in, and it doesn't have to be fancy. You literally can braai, or you can make very light meals, and it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. You can get away for a good few days, uh, be in the bush, which is always refreshing. I mean, I always think, when you actually have like a little bit of nature around you, you suddenly realize like how stupid some of your problems in the city are. You're like, oh, traffic, or the petrol price, or things that you can't control, things that are actually just not worth getting upset about. And when you're out in the
Mm,
bush, you suddenly you kind of come to terms with the fact that actually you're just this pathetic, feeble human that could be eaten by lions, and you'd be taken out by much bigger, much more frightening monsters and creatures than you. And you suddenly get you get a little bit humble, which is not a bad thing.
I was actually having a debate with my friends over this weekend. What would you do if like a lion came up to you or something? Some guys were saying like play dead. Some were saying like look big. I was like, just
Yeah.
run. Just turn around and start running. Give
Well,
yourself 1% chance.
apparently though, that's the worst thing you can do with a predator is run, because the moment they see your back, then they go, okay, prey, it's on, and then those things are much faster than you. They'll take you down.
Yeah, but
And the
I'm
best thing,
standing there just waiting for
well,
it to happen.
if you stand your ground and you just calm, which is I know it's impossible, because I've probably just
Calm.
yeah, I mean, I'm saying all of this now like I would do any better, but I think I'd also just gap it and run. It's ridiculous. Oh, but that
My
sounds so
favorite,
nice. How long are you going
my
for?
a week. And like my
Mm.
favorite part about the bush, and it's like the smallest thing ever, is when you're on that drive in the morning and you stop for a coffee break and you
Mm.
have that first coffee with amarula.
Oh,
Oh, there's
dude.
just something about that just says you're now officially in the bush. You've made it.
Yeah, and if you think about it, we've got all this on our doorstep, and people will fly in from all over the world, and they'll have to spend way more money to have a quarter of the experience, because we can sometimes speak the language that the guide speaks. We know the people, we know the country. For us, it's like right here. You could drive to some of these game lodges from Joburg, and it would take you an hour or two. And you think about people who have to fly in over 20 hours to get here, and they have to fork out all of that foreign currency to make it happen in some 5-star resort. And
Oh, I've
here,
got
there goes.
backup.
Oh, there we go. Look at you, organized. That's a very ominous looking shadow there behind you. Well done. So your internet and everything still works. So you on some kind of inverter or something?
Yeah, I got one of those tiny little UPS things that gets the Wi-Fi going for I think another 4 hours. So
Oh, that's good.
that is so valuable. And then I just hear that it's quite soothing. You hear the generator start going. There's this light hum throughout the day. Look at the positives of load shedding.
No, dude, I do. I mean, it's very fucking frustrating, but I do. I mean, I sometimes will just look around and go, okay, well, I've got 2 hours to do whatever I want. I can either work, because I've also got one of those little inverter type things which will keep me going for about 3 or 4 hours, or I decide, okay, well, the universe is telling you it's time to either have a nap or to read a book, or obviously if you've got light, and get something completely different done. So you got to make use of the time. There's no point sitting there moaning about it.
True, there's something relaxing about it at the same time as annoying.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the bush for a second, because there's something so special about those smells, that sound, the sound of all those little birds in the bush, the sound of the hyenas or the lions or the jackals or whatever it is that you've got around you, and it makes you feel like you are a part of nature, and that you are some small little wheel in a much bigger machine. I think that's what we need to do. We sometimes need to reconnect with that stuff, because people forget, and we get so caught up in our stupid lives and in all of these things that we think are so important, like money and responsibilities and all of the stuff that we judge ourselves and others by. And I reckon it's an amazing thing to go to the bush. It kind of resets you.
Oh, I think I've lost you there.
No, you got me now. Ruth says there's nothing positive about fucking load shedding. We're all just a bunch of frogs being boiled. Yeah, all right, calm down, Ruth. Calm down. So, okay, Flax, you are moving out of this place you've been in for a while now, where you've been living with all these other people.
Yeah, I absolutely love it here, but I decided I'd get a little place of my own.
Yeah.
So in about 2-3 months, when transfer goes through, I'm going to move into my own little place and start building my own little home, which is exciting. I've never owned a home.
You're going to build, or you're going to buy? I mean, there's a huge
difference. No, I bought.
Okay.
I wouldn't know where to start with building.
Dude, it can be such a nightmare. I mean, I built this house that I live in now, and it's awesome, and I love it, and it's it's the way I wanted it to be. But Jesus, like, you just forget about it if you're in a hurry, or if you think that contractors are going to take. They always say to you, "Oh, it'll be done in 6 months." It ends up being like 12. So you can always double the time that a contractor says, and your prices just keep going up and up and up. So you're like, well, can we put a window over there? And they're like, yeah, it's an extra $3,000. When you get round to it, it's like an extra $9,000. It's always way worse. So rather just buy it.
Like, design it. Were you involved in the design process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you know what you wanted, though?
Easy, dude. I always look at when I visit people. When I've been overseas, I'm constantly looking at rooms and doors and houses and windows and floors. And this is probably, if I had to go back and be forced to choose a different career, or I reckon architecture would have been in those top 5 of possibilities for me. I love that stuff, and I'm always looking around at the way places are designed. And there's a whole show on. There's a whole channel on DSTV where they just do like these renovations. And I mean, I don't watch a lot of television, but when I have watched TV in the last couple of years, that's been one of the channels that's like held my attention for more than 5 minutes. And it's amazing. Like, you see what people do with a crappy little like 1-bedroom apartment, and they turn it into something really, really nice. Because it's all, you can make a very humble little place look superb if you just put in a couple of really nice finishes. You do the floors nicely, you paint the walls the different color, or you do something with them. I love that stuff. I
can never visualize it.
No, it's the best thing. And when I go to sleep at night, this sounds so nerdy and ridiculous, but when I go to sleep at night, I actually imagine like walking through some of the spaces I've designed, and it gives me such a thrill. It's like, okay, and I fall asleep to that. It's like exploring a place you haven't built yet. It's one of the most awesome things, because you imagine like a little door here, passage down there, little columns, or this kind of roof, that kind of roof. I love that stuff. I find it a very creative an exciting thing to do. They say that only a small percentage of people can actually visualize from a drawing what a space might look like. But I'm lucky that that's one of the things that I love to do. And I can usually, you get these programs now, these software programs, which will allow you to render a space
like 3D.
In 3D. And for some people that helps, because then they can actually see what you mean when you say, oh, well, we'll put an opening there, or we'll make a little step here, or go down a flight of stairs, or whatever. But I love doing that stuff. It's one of my favorite things. My aunt is an architect, and I thought about architecture for a while. But the problem is, if you do architecture and it's your career and it's your job and you study it, you invariably end up doing like a whole lot of boring architecture. You may have to do parking lots and like gyms, or like boring open spaces where there isn't really a whole lot of creativity. You're designing just warehouses. Can you imagine how boring it is to design a warehouse?
It's just a block.
Yeah. I mean, there's no creativity there. I mean, obviously people will say to you, oh, but you can, put different kinds of columns or different sort of structures, and there's a lot of engineering involved too, so that it's not like the sky's the limit in terms of creativity. But I'm sorry, like the only things I'd be interested in designing would be beautiful houses, and you can't choose that. You might have clients who want you to do schools, and a lot of schools in South Africa all look the same. They're like those 3-story brick, they all look classrooms of the same size. It's not like you get to experiment and mess around with it. So I don't know. I mean, it's a really fun part of what I like to do in my spare time, designing buildings. I actually found a picture the other day of a little house in England that I really want. I want to now take just this picture. Let me see if I can find it for you, because it's cool. And I want to take.
Do you have anything that you're building now or designing?
I'm not building anything now, because to build these things then costs you an absolute fortune, because building in South Africa, the costs of construction have gone up. And also I don't own any other property, but I saw this little picture of a place in southern England, I think it is, and I looked at this and I was like, shit, I want to play with that design, and I want to draw what I think the inside should look like. It's got a little courtyard in it, and let me just show you this picture. It's such a cute little building. Now, this excites me more than if you said to me, like, let's go to the bush this weekend, and I was going to come with you. I'd be like, no, I'd rather stay at home and draw this building, and I really would.
Mad.
As much as your holiday, your weekend, or week away sounds. Let me show you what this looks like. So I see this.
Did you ever play like Sims as a kid?
I did a little bit.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful? So I want to take that little building and I want to actually draw it in 3D. I want to draw the floor plan. So there's obviously it's 2 stories and there's an attic story as well. So it'll be like 2.5 stories. You can see through that archway. There's a courtyard, so it's all built around that. So it's probably a square house. You've got big rooms on the corners with one window facing whichever way. Probably 2 ways that way, and then there'd be 2 doors going into the room on either side. I mean, this stuff excites the hell out of me, dude. That kind of thing is just my favorite.
Beautiful, like symmetrical house.
Exactly. Now I could spend hours and hours and hours just moving a little wall here, or putting some architectural detailing around the top here, or changing the height of the rooms inside and that kind of thing. It's so much fun. I mean, to do that, this is a project I can't wait to get into. And then people say to me, oh, what did you do this weekend? And I'll be like, I drew a building I'm probably never going to build. And they're like, well, what's the point? I'm like, no, it's the most creative thing I can do. It's the most fun thing I can spend my time doing. I love it.
The courtyard in that's interesting. I think that I would enjoy a courtyard.
Yeah, a lot of
really cool concept.
Yeah, a lot of Mediterranean houses, especially the bigger and smarter ones, used to have courtyards in the middle, because it was like a private garden where you didn't have, because you'd have your front door would be on the street usually, and especially in the city, and the courtyard would be like a garden inside that only you had, where you and your family could actually be in the sun, or you could be around plants. It would usually have a fountain in the middle, little pot plants, that kind of thing. It's a beautiful way to build a house because it does give you and also it means that the rooms on the inside of the construction also have a view of something pretty. They don't look kind of into blank space.
Oh, true.
See, I know you're
I
pretending
never
to be
thought of it
interested
like
in my
that.
hobby. I know you're pretending to be interested in my boring hobby here, but that's my favorite thing.
No, I really am interested. And what's like your favorite part about your house that you designed? Like the one section you like, this is a masterpiece, Picasso.
You know what? I don't, because I haven't really designed that many buildings that have actually become a reality. A lot of them have just stayed in my imagination or on paper. But you know what's fun to do is to have, and this is where I really think some architects are absolute genius because what they do is they can take a space as big as, like, let's say your bedroom. And if you say to them, all right, I want to turn my bedroom into a bathroom and dressing room, and I want to take over the next room as the bedroom. And then what they can do is they can take that space and they can make the most beautiful, big, gorgeous, lovely, luxurious bathroom out of it. I mean, if you can use space properly, if you can turn, walls into, you can angle the walls slightly, or you can put a shower in where you before might have had a window, or you can you can make move taps from here to there and put the basin over there, and maybe create some kind of a feature in the middle of the room. I mean, those kinds of things are just so much fun to do. I love that stuff. Never get bored.
There was this one thing I was introduced to when I was like house hunting, and I don't know if I'm maybe not a fan of the concept or I just saw a really bad one, but I think it's called a Romeo and Juliet bathroom. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean, where you've got separate toilets, but you've got the rest is shared. Is that it?
Yeah, like the shower opens on both sides to different rooms.
Oh, yeah.
I just found that so weird.
You find it weird? I think it's cool because a lot of people's relationships break down over like bathroom stuff. Someone said to me the key to a happy marriage is that the man and woman have separate toilets. You can share the bedroom, but like getting ready in the morning and having enough space for both of you. Also, you never ever need to be so close to someone that you could take a shit in front of them ever. As far as I'm concerned, that's when the happiness and the joy and the excitement and the romance leaves the relationship. Is the moment you're like busy brushing your teeth and your husband's taking a shit. I mean, I can't imagine anything worse for a wife. To me, there's just stuff you should never really see. And if you can keep that separate, you can each have your own loo, then I think you'll be much happier.
I quite like it when the bathroom, like the actual toilet, has another door within the bathroom. I think that's cool.
Yeah. And again, you can design a house. I don't want to belabor the point too much, but you can design a house so that you have multiple entrances to certain rooms. That there's certain places that are kind of cordoned off that are just for your use or just for you and your wife or your husband or whoever it is. I mean, like you could really make a house individually, precisely to the design and to the likings of the people who live in it. That's special. I reckon one of the greatest things about being able to design or having the money to get someone to design for you is that you can tailor make your house to your own needs. Like you would have a fine a suit that fits you beautifully, or you would have
like doors to your heart.
Yeah, and a desk at work that is perfectly arranged for you. Where you have your stuff around you so you can work more efficiently. Like a house that's efficient. And these days, obviously, a house that can save you money on electricity and, you can be off the grid and all of that stuff. That also is a big part of it, I think. Anyway, here's a good point from Lungile who says, gee, can we get Anthea back soon to proper let us know how fucked we are? And then Mike, can't remember his surname, but New York accent to remind us how bad credit is. I think you mean Joe Camino, and we are going to get Joe on. Joe is awesome. He's actually on the schedule, I think, for next week to tell us about what we can do about our money, what little we have left, where to put it, where not to put it, where you can save some money. And he is especially worried about interest rates going up, Joe. So the producers have been talking to him this week. We will have him on next week. And yes, we should get Anthea on. I've noticed something that Anthea might want to talk about, because there's been very little good news in terms of where to put your money lately. But I've seen that the South African stock market, the JSE, is actually looking a lot better than it has for a long time, and surprisingly, looking a bit better than the New York Stock Exchange at the moment. If you'd put money in, and especially into things like Naspers, which I know, Anthea always used to be quite big on, it's actually looking quite healthy at the moment. I wouldn't say it's making you a fortune, but it's looking a lot healthier than the stocks that you might have had if you were in America. Anyway, it's something to think about.
Invest while you're young.
Oh, yeah. Well, and also just leave it there and don't worry too much about it, because what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's it.
Ruth says, one day I'll redesign my kitchen, always upgrade the kitchen. Again, like if you spend a lot of time in a room, it's so helpful if it's beautifully designed. And a kitchen that is where everything is where it's meant to be, and there's a place for everything. And, the stuff is within arm's reach if you're cooking, or if you need to you don't want to have to squeeze into little spaces and have cupboards that don't open properly. And that kind of shit drives me up the wall. So I think part of this design thing that I'm so into at the moment is also it's removing unnecessary stress and frustration from your life by making things work.
I feel like whenever you have a design thing, you draw it out, you visualize it. I just get sent to Pinterest and have to go find it.
Yeah, it's like those people who, I remember you used to go to the hairdresser and you'd give them a picture and say, cut my hair like this.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I still do that.
I know, I'm sure you do. There are some people who describe it to their hairdresser. They're like, well, this is how I want it to look. You couldn't do that. You just show them a picture and say, do that. And that's okay. I mean, there's, there are people who are good at design, and there are people who know what they want, but they can't explain it. So they just show you someone else's version.
So I find it so interesting that you can visualize.
Yeah, I love it, dude. It's one of my favorite things to do. Just sit there and imagine how you can improve a space. Beth says, my niece is an architect. Her least favorite job is extensions. Oh, yeah. And it's a hard thing to do because you have to knock down walls. It's always a mess. But I'm always thinking about this stuff. Like even looking at this room now, I'm like, well, that wall could really go. I could put it across the passage and just open it up, make it much bigger. I'm always thinking like this. Anyway, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because you also need money to do it. So forget about that for the moment.
A lot of it.
Right. Damn right. Okay, so let's look at a couple of headlines quickly this morning. And by the way, a little later on, we're going to be joined by Arya Kellman, who we haven't seen in ages and ages. We're just going to catch up with him. Of course, Arya was one of the people who started at the beginning of CliffCentral along with Flax. He brought you into the building.
Yeah, the man's a legend. In my opinion, he's still the next Steve Jobs.
He's amazing, and he's been working his backside off with his business, and we'll be catching up with him. He used to host our afternoon show on CliffCentral, and he's the creative officer, the chief creative officer, and the co-founder of a company called Tilt, and he'll tell us about what they do and what the world of influencer marketing is all about right now. And I'm very, very keen to catch up with him because the last time we spoke to him on the show was, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 years ago. It's been ages. So yeah, I know. And it's really well overdue. Time to catch up with Arya. So let's see what we can talk to him about later on. And we've also got a great podcast, which I don't know if you've heard this, but it is absolutely awesome. And I saw the host of that podcast yesterday, Professor Christopher Paul Szabo, who is, of course, a psychiatrist, a very well-known psychiatrist. And he has been talking about a bunch of things that are fascinating. So if you want to listen to an episode of his show, I can guarantee it'll blow your mind. ADHD is one of the things that he's focused on, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And that, of course, is a condition which is associated primarily with children, but is increasingly being diagnosed in adults as well. The sufferer has their own challenges to face, but what about their parents, siblings, spouses, partners, colleagues, peers? What about teachers? How do they cope with the sufferer? Well, this week on Beyond Madness, Living with ADHD, in proud association with Adcock Ingram OTC, the sponsors of Brave, and you want to listen to Professor Szabo and hear what he has to say about all of this. ADHD, he's got some fascinating topics, though. They talk about the difficulty of grief and how you deal with loss. They also talk in a forthcoming episode about assisted suicide. Do you have the right to end your own life? And what are the psychological and psychiatric implications for the people around you when you make a decision like that? And can you be talked out of it? Is that ethical? Can you be talked into it? Is that ethical? There's so many questions. So do not miss Beyond Madness and this week's new episode on ADHD in proud association with Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Brave. Did you have ADHD?
No, I don't think I did. I mean, school was so far away that like it's a blur at this point in time. But do you ever chat to that other professor? I think it was Professor Block that was big into the astronomy or something. He was so passionate about the planets and everything.
We had Prof. David Block. We had him on just the other day. He's still as passionate as ever about that stuff. I love Prof. Block. He's one of my favorite guests.
Remarkable guy to be so passionate about something that you've never actually seen. Like you've never seen Mars or Saturn or yet he loves it.
You haven't been there, but you can see it through telescopes, and he's looked through some of the most powerful telescopes that there are. And of course, you can see the footage from there on satellite images that have been beamed from the surface of Mars. But he's so excited about it. Actually, Flax, I mean, if you have powerful telescopes, you can see the most incredible things in the universe. You just can't get there for some of them. But they photographed, for example, for the first time ever, a black hole the other day.
Really?
And I mean, you can actually see. Well, it doesn't.
What is there to see?
It doesn't look like a whole lot, but I'll show you the picture. It went all over the world. It's the first time we've actually had proof that a black hole could exist and what it might look like. So let me show you this quickly.
Where does a black hole take you to?
This is. Are we going to go down this very complicated discussion now? Because I'm not going to explain this in any great detail. And if I get it wrong, there are going to be 100 people who are going to tell me, oh, no, you got it wrong. Okay, so let me show you what they think it looks like. And then I'll show you what the actual picture looked like. Because the one is a phenomenal thing to see because it's really out there. The other one, if you could get close enough, would be terrifying to behold. So first of all, this is the famous picture that has been recently taken of a black hole that's close, meaning millions of light years away. But this is it. And that light around that central dark hole is proof that, first of all, these structures exist in the universe. And second of all, that they are tremendously energetic. Now, they say that if you went over the lip of a black hole into that hole, the time would stretch, that either things would go extremely, extremely fast or extremely slow, and that everything would change. And if you emerged on the other side of what is called the event horizon, if you actually went into the black hole, you could essentially move through the universe at a speed faster than light. So it's mind-bending stuff, literally and figuratively. But if it was possible to get close enough, I don't think you could survive it. That's what they said it would look like if you were really close by. I mean, that is amazing, isn't it?
And realistically, it looks more like a glazed donut.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a donut. So, I mean, you're not going to get excited about that like Prof. Block did, but my goodness, was he jumping up and down when he told us about that. All right, a few headlines. Oh, he's so great. He's just so enthusiastic about everything. So, COSATU has called on government to continue with the fuel levy and tax relief. I think that would be a great idea. Of course, it's not going to last forever. The Trade Union Federation was reacting to the shock increase of more than R2 a litre for grades of petrol and diesel. And this has happened over the course of today. In fact, it's going to kick in. Midnight last night, it would have started. So COSATU has said, please, the fuel levy tax relief must continue, and it will ease the burden on cash-strapped consumers. This comes as citizens have to once again brace for another massive fuel price hike today. The trade union was reacting to the shock increase. On Monday, the Energy Department said petrol 93 is expected to cost an additional R2.37 a litre, while 95 octane will cost an additional R2.57 a litre. This is while the price of diesel is also set to increase by R2.30 and R2.31 per litre. Moreover, the department announced the temporary reduction in the fuel levy would drop from R1.50 to 75 cents. So we get hit with a double whammy. Isn't that great?
Do you know why it's gone up? Like the explanation, something happened.
Yeah, the international fuel prices on the rise, mostly as a result of, Russia provides quite a lot of that, and there are sanctions on Russia at the moment. International supply has been affected quite badly since, the lockdowns and all the rest of it too. America is no longer drilling. There are some countries that are hugely dependent, like European countries, on Russian fuel, who are now either using more and paying commensurately more as well. But there's also the fact that international logistics is such a mess at the moment. Like actually getting this stuff from A to B is becoming more expensive and complicated because all of this was disrupted so badly during the pandemic. But largely it's a Russia thing. Oil and gas, the supply of oil and gas has been turned off in many places. I know places like Saudi Arabia have got their oil business churning at full capacity at the moment. They cannot produce enough for the world's needs. So obviously when supply is restricted, demand goes up. And when demand goes up, you pay more for every liter. So we are just victims of what's going on in the rest of the world. But that's going to happen.
But that stuff's it's not going to change anytime soon. So does that mean petrol's just going to keep going up?
Probably for a while. And probably until we find alternatives, it's just going to be a reality that we have to deal with, I'm afraid. And then speaking of increases that we can't do anything about, we always talk about Eskom, and you might have noticed the power has not gone off this morning in some places. In some places it has. Unions have accepted Eskom's 7% wage increase. A deadlock in talks led to a wildcat strike at the utility. Eskom said its strike action is to blame for the latest bout of power cuts. So we should see, at least there, some stability return shortly. We are going to sign, so we're in a meeting with Eskom after lunch. We're probably can assure that we have a mandate to sign today. So hopefully it's all over today. I don't know why we keep the people at Eskom. They should all be fired. All of them.
This isn't due to like wet coal or not enough coal. This is just people are striking.
That's just people striking. They want double-digit increases in an economy where, like, are you kidding? People are losing their jobs left, right, and center, and you think you can get more? Eskom pays their workers. They're the third best employer in terms of salaries in the country. For what? For a company that doesn't even deliver its product properly. Crazy, right?
That's so interesting how people can just be like, no, we're not working today. And then it literally cuts the electricity to half the nation.
Yep. And G-Star says corruption, Flax. That's exactly right. That's a huge part of it too. I've got power in the morning for the first time this week, says Ethan. Okay, good, Ethan. I hope it stays that way for you. It's very frustrating to wake up in the dark. Filthy commie unions, says G-Star. Quite right. Absolutely. So workers who cannot run a power plant are striking because they want more pay. Please explain. Hey, parallel parking, if I could explain, I'd be in charge of the government. And you wouldn't want that. Trust me. Okay, some other news that is going on at the moment. Poor maintenance has caused the government printing works to crash.
What is the government printing works?
Okay, so there's a thing. Flax, every time we make a law in South Africa, we have to publish it in something called the Government Gazette, okay, which is it's a newspaper, believe it or not. And a law is not a law until it's printed in there. It's very old school, but these things are actually handed out. But Government Printing Works also produces pamphlets. They produce lots of critical information out of government. Anyway, they've crashed. Not surprisingly, idiots in charge. You play dumb games, you get dumb prizes. So a Government Printing Works system crash has led to a massive data loss, which was caused by poor ICT maintenance. Oh! And Chief Information Officer of the Government Printing Works had a team that didn't know how to perform proper functions on the server. This is the finding of a panel that Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi appointed to investigate the system glitch. The server supporting corporate services and e-gazettes at the Government Printing Works crashed in 2021 resulting in a loss of critical information. Some of the info, the panel was informed, might never be recovered. Oh! He told MPs that stuff. This has actually happened. Yeah, this has already happened. This is now the investigation that's telling us these things. How do you like that? Great, huh?
I mean, when it comes to budget cuts, wouldn't the section be first to go? It sounds like a waste of money, the whole printing on paper just to prove a law. Send out an email.
So there are lots of things that the government still has to print on paper for people who don't have computers. You know, the majority of South Africans don't have email or computers, and you still have to communicate with those people. And there's a lot of paper in the system that we're still going to need to pass around. You know, everything from drafts of legislation to eventual laws which need to be promulgated. And, you know, you've seen those things up on the walls explaining how labor regulations work and things like that. The government printing works does all of that. But they're so goddamn useless. Just another example of how stupid, pointless, corrupt, and useless our government are. We should stop paying these people taxes. Honestly, I don't know what we're paying for. We're paying for pure incompetence. So here's what they found. They found that the servicing of 2 UPS, that's power supplies, undertaken by Eskom SA, identified the need to replace a parallel board which had been overheating. There's a lot of detail, but anyway. In October 2019, it was discovered that the backup library was not functioning properly and that the tape drives were failing. The replacement of the disk drives was performed by the deputy director. During 2020, the tape library was repaired in-house. Delays were experienced in the respective procurement of new ones, and the robotic arm of the tape library was also found to be faulty and in need of repairs. In 2020, hard drive failures were reported, and the whole system crashed. So an application for firmware upgrades was made by the then CIO. Just basically, routine incompetence of government. Bunch of people who don't know what they're doing. Well done, you morons. Have you seen
one of these papers? Have you read one?
Yeah. You actually. So the government gazette and the government printer is in Pretoria, and I remember, for example, if you have reported cases, or in some situations, if you've lodged a complaint against legislation, it actually gets printed in there as well. So when they're about to promulgate a law, they send out the draft in the government gazette. That's when the public, us, we're allowed to complain and say, no, we don't like this law because X and Y. And, public participation is an important part in a democracy of any legislation that's promulgated. So, for example, if you didn't like expropriation without compensation, you would have to write your complaints into the government gazette and they would have to be published. And this is what people don't realize. It's an important part of a democracy. That's why it's important that it functions. And I remember when I was a law student, we went to the government printer and actually got a copy of the government gazette. They print it every week, I think. They may have reduced that now, but every week. They don't print like thousands and thousands of copies. But if you want one, as a citizen of South Africa, you can go and get one anytime you like.
That's so interesting. For some reason, just to cast a parallel, every week there's a guy that throws a newspaper over my wall. Don't know who subscribed to it. Don't know where it comes from, but it's called China Daily, and it's just all just news there
from China.
Yeah, someone subscribed to it, and they've never stopped bringing it week on week on week.
And is it in Chinese or is it in English?
Yeah, no, I cannot understand a single word or letter on it.
So you at least get free newspaper to burn in fires.
I'd just love to know who's subscribed and who's still paying for it. And the fact that you can get like China Daily here, you could probably get like other newspapers from different countries here. Interesting. I mean, I did not know about this government gazette until today.
You learn something new on this show every day. Just one last thing. Cyril, the president, Ramaphosa, has said that Eskom must stop targeting the townships with prolonged blackouts. Now, I don't know if we're meant to believe him or not. I mean, he's obviously so unpopular at the moment, and the president's in huge trouble. The whole ANC is in huge trouble. So he's obviously going to go for the lowest hanging fruit. And here what he's trying to do clearly is curry favor with poor people in townships. So he told Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan to immediately attend to what he called Eskom's targeting of townships with long hours of load shedding. I don't know if that's even true, that townships have been targeted for long hours of load shedding. I don't know whether it's true that certain suburbs have been hit harder than others. We don't know. We can only assume that the president does, and that if he has seen that there's some injustice, that he's doing the right thing. But I don't believe them anymore. I think he's just doing this because he needs his base, his voting base, to turn out and save him from being made a laughingstock in his own party and at the next poll. So screw you, Cyril. We don't believe you. And if people in the townships are going to fall for this old trick, then they've got to learn the hard way. Vote for this guy.
When's the next poll happening?
I think we've got another election in 2024. Or is it before?
Don't things like usually get really good during election and before, like months before the election?
I don't know, dude. I really don't know. Let me just check quickly when our next elections are, because we've got provincial. So the 2024 South African general election is the next one. And we've got in between then and now another municipal and local.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sneezing again.
Bless
All right.
you.
So
Bless you.
Thank you. So I don't know whether certain places are targeted more than others in load shedding. Have you driven past a certain neighborhood and seen that maybe their lights never go off? I mean, we know about those areas which are near hospitals or, where they, for example, they just don't seem to get load shed. But there are places, I suppose, that get targeted more. On average, how many hours have you had load shedding in the last week where you are?
I'm 4 hours a day in, I think, stage 4, then 6 hours a day in stage 6. So like I'm off now till 8:30, and then I'm off 2 to 4:30, but sometimes when they switch it on at 4:30, it blows the substation, and then I'm on only at like 11 that night.
Yeah, that's probably the same for me as well. So I don't know whether that's normal, and if the townships, they've had a much worse time, then who knows? The infrastructure, says VK, transformers get stolen in the townships, like in Tokoza. That is the main problem. Okay, well, if that's true, then that's a whole different story. Time to start calling out the ANC, says G-Star. The voters, the ANC voters as enemies of South Africa as they are. Wow, okay, you can't. The voters are allowed to vote for whoever they want. You can't lock people out and call them out as enemies of the state. I mean, people can vote for whoever they want. If they vote stupidly, that's their business. We all have to pay the price, obviously, if enough terrible people vote for a terrible party. But you can't go around locking up supporters of parties. We have to make 2024 count, says Ruth. Please don't think I'm not voting. You have to not allow the ANC by default to come in. All right, Ruth, too many words in that sentence. You're blowing my mind so early in the morning. Please figure it out, rewrite it, and I'll try to make sense of it. Good Lord. By the time schedule is all stuffed, wonder how people are eating from frozen dinners. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you've had more than 4 hours of load shedding, do you have to throw away all the stuff in your freezer?
No. 4 hours is good. The last Tuesday, though, we had no electricity the entire day. It went off Monday night at 8 and then came back on Wednesday morning at like 6. That's when I had the freezer had defrosted. The geyser went cold.
Oh,
like I had to reset, throw out. Yeah. Luckily, I didn't have much food in the freezer because of load shedding. You can't really cook much.
Right.
So I've just given up on that now. For now, it's sort of delivery.
That's not good. That's horrible. You started an online clothing store recently, selling your old clothes. Now, how do you do this? Do you go on someone else's site, or did you develop your own online clothing store? How did this work, Flax?
So I was like so sick of having old clothes, like clothes I've had from like 3 years ago that isn't even my style anymore. Like back in the day, I used to wear Justin Bieber sort of long tees that were cut, and
I remember you also bought a bunch of really shit shoes at one point because you thought they looked nice, and I guarantee you don't wear those anymore.
100% not. That style is, I can't believe people actually let me wear half that stuff. Like the jeans would be torn, the shirt would be torn. Nah.
Yeah.
So I've been hoarding that stuff and just keeping it in the cupboard. And then I decided, like, why don't I make some cash off this? So thrift stores is a vibe, and it's a thing. So there's this thrift store called Yaga. And basically it's a platform, and you can upload your own little shop within there and upload pictures of your clothes. And it's not like high-end photos. It's literally just off your phone. Everyone's doing it. And then I just started posting all my clothes with a description and a price. And then people are buying it. Like, I've sold maybe like 15 items, and all I do is I go drop it at like a Pep, and then they have a courier service to another Pep. Or I drop it at the not the post office, a Postnet. Or like Capago points.
How do you spell this Yaga? How do you spell that?
Just YAGA. And it's so simple to do it. You actually make cash instead of your old clothes sitting in your room. Someone else is going to buy it. Someone else wants it.
That's phenomenal. I love that. That is a clever way to save some money. We all have clothes that we don't wear anymore, right?
Yeah. Like, instead of just letting it sit in the cupboard, get fish moths or something like that.
Yeah, moths. Yeah.
Just
so
sell it.
How much money have you made?
I've made, listen, remember, these clothes are like 4 or 5 years old. I think I've made about 3.5 or 4 grand.
That's not bad, dude. 3.5 grand that you didn't have before is excellent for clothes that you're never going to wear again. What a win.
True. And it's very little effort. You literally take a photo, put a description, and then someone just says, take it. And then it says sold, and you go drop it off, and next minute the money's in your bank account.
That's cool. All right, Yaga. I got to check that out, because
you can also buy.
I was looking through my cupboards the other day. I was like, there's some stuff in here that I'm never going to wear again. I just got to get rid of this. And also, you could take that 3.5 grand that you made now and go and buy some new stuff.
So that's my logic now. Everything I buy, I'm going to sell, and I'm going to rebuy and make new things cheaper, and just keep that circle and cycle going.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. So some people here are still talking about the voting and how that would work. So propaganda says that taxpayers should be allowed 2 votes. Then we would see who the people really want. In other words, if you pay personal income tax, you get an extra vote. Well, fine, propaganda, but how do you draw a line then? Because what if someone has, is it per every 10,000 rand of tax that you pay, or every 100,000 rand of tax that you pay? Then you'll have billionaires who get like 20 votes each. Is that the way it should work? I mean, some people would say that's probably right, because they probably
would love it.
Yeah, of course, billionaires would love it, but they already have influence on the political system like the rest of us don't.
True.
So I would love to know. A lot of people talking about newspapers. So you get that China Daily News or whatever it is. Somebody said here, I still buy the Sunday Times whenever I can. Newspapers come in handy when cleaning the grill or covering car seats when transporting messy items. You see, that's really the only use for newspapers anymore. I don't know anybody who still reads the newspapers like they used to. I haven't bought a newspaper in probably about 4 or 5 years.
Do you remember the only place to see when movies were showing and what times they were showing was the newspaper?
That I do remember that. It wasn't even that long ago.
I can't believe that thought just popped in my head. That was how we did it.
It was a thing. It was the only place you could find that out, so you had to.
But then also, like, the ETV schedule and everything was all from the newspaper.
Yeah, correct. Like, you'd actually look at the TV schedule to see when your favorite show was on. Ridiculous, right?
It used to be useful.
Yeah. Claire is saying that thrifting is the future. So I suppose you could call what you did thrifting. Do you courier the item 100%. Or drop it off yourself, Flax, says Ethan?
So they give you different options. The options I give people is, because I never know where I'm going to be and I don't want like a courier to come to the house and I'm not here, I drop it off at Pep stores, and then the Pep store delivers it to another Pep store, and it's really efficient.
Okay. Steph says you could also see who died in the classifieds. Well, I think they still do that in the newspapers. They have like a births, deaths, and marriages section, and that's how old people in old age homes find out which of their friends are still alive. Viva Thrifting. Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, you can advertise. Yeah, you can.
Like $50.
Sure. Yeah, you could buy like a whole page now for $50 because nobody's reading it. So you could put yourself in the newspaper. Grand High King of Sandhurst, Michael Flax, and you put a nice picture of yourself in there, and someone would take your money to publish that. I'm telling you. Claire says, Viva Thrifting and no global warming. Is that your vibe, Flax? Okay, clearly that is, and you're also into it in a big way, Claire, because that's not your first comment about it. Thrifting is much more affordable. A lot of people talking about that. All right, well, it is 7 o'clock. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got Michael Flax, we've got Aria Kellman joining us later on, and we want to hear from you in the comments. Let us know what you're up to. You can also email us, contact@cliffcentral.com. It is Wednesday morning. It's the 6th of July, just after 7.
Up next in the Auto Trader podcast.
I recently received a few videos for the last, I think about 3 weeks now, of people saying, if you add this thing to your vehicle, specifically once you're pouring gas, you pour this fluid into your fuel tank, you may get some additional mileage.
Yeah, I'm not sure I believe in them. And I'll give you the reasons. Just now.
Okay, so there are proven additives that do work.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Good Wednesday morning, CliffCentral.com. Here to keep you company with me is Michael Flax. And we've got lots to talk about today. Flax just brought up this amazing thing that I had no idea existed. In fact, we've both done that this morning. I told him about the Government Gazette, which is way less exciting. He told me about Yaga, where you can actually sell old clothes of yours online. Someone buys them, then you drop them off somewhere, and you get the cash money. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it. People are into this. Tracy says, I bought a Calvin Klein jacket recently at a local thrift store for $150. Boom. Yeah, I mean, you could probably find some very cool stuff. I wouldn't mind buying a jacket, or occasionally, like, certain kind of overwear rather than the stuff that you like. I wouldn't necessarily buy T-shirts or someone else's jeans or someone else's underwear. In fact, definitely not the underwear, but everything else is cool, right?
Yeah, coats. There's a massive coat store, I think, in Benoni. I think it's Benoni or Boxburg, somewhere there. It's like, I think it's called Coat King. And you pay per like kilogram of the coat. It doesn't matter on like the brand. You literally just pay how much it weighs.
That's awesome. I suppose some of these things you don't know who's worn them, right? So I mean, some of them might be in amazing condition, some of them might be in shit condition, some of them might be worn by people who are dead. You don't know.
But you learn to ask questions and ask for more photos, etc.
Oh, really? Is that what you? So you've bought and sold, or have you just sold?
I bought one jersey. It was like hand knitted in the Midlands. I mean, it's not a terrible jersey, but I'm not wearing it out. It was my first purchase. I think I paid like $100 for this knitted jersey. Very warm, but it's like half the knitting is coming undone. Like I wouldn't wear it out. It's for a festival.
Yeah. Well, Tracy says there's a few thrift stores in Somerset West where she lives. Between Us Boutique is one. Yeah, there's a charity shop called Heartlands. They have a lot of those charity shops in the UK too, where people go and they drop off all their old clothes and then they let the charity shop keep the money. I kind of like your idea more because you can actually get some money back for the clothes you don't wear anymore. Is there an app, Flax, or do you just go onto a site?
No, it's an app. Well, it's both. I think it's an app and a site. I use the app. It's just easier to upload things. But go on it. You'll check some mad deals.
I'm doing it right now as we speak. Okay. Gary says, and he's reminding us all, like and subscribe, everybody. He says, I'm starting to sound like a stuck record, but thank you for the reminder, Gary. like and subscribe, everybody. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing here? We can't keep doing this. It's not for our health. You know, I have to keep asking. So please do it. You know how to do it. Like and subscribe. Are you being the leader that creatives need? On this week's episode of Leadership Books Unpacked, Manda Tsifularo and Ngobile Ngobo have started to unpack Herding Tigers, Be the Leader That Creative People Need. That's by Todd Henry. They dissect the myths surrounding leading creatives and how most of us are leading a creative, even if we are unaware of it. How to be a better leader that cultivates an environment where creative people thrive. Well, if you want to know more about that, you can listen to Leadership Books Unpacked wherever you get your podcast. It's proudly sponsored by Hollard Life Solutions and Superlead. And you can find out more about all of our podcasts by going along to cliffcentral.com. Take a look at all of that. We want to hear from you. Okay. So Wen says our church in KZN regularly collects used clothing and new underwear. And they have a street shop for the homeless in Durban to choose free clothing so that they have some dignity. That's nice.
That's nice. I think that's really nice.
Very Jared says, can I just say how shit the South African police are? A friend of mine runs a petroleum depot. One of their trucks overturned and people stole millions of rands worth of fuel while the police just stood by. Oh, my God. That's terrible. Well, listen.
How are you stealing
just
fuel?
Yesterday. Well, exactly. People take buckets and containers and all kinds of things. But just yesterday, we had Dr. Anne Bicard on, who works in the emergency room in Joburg. And she was saying one of the worst things she's dealt with is a bunch of guys who tried to rob a petrol tanker. They weren't trying to rob a petrol tanker. That's wrong. They were trying to weld a petrol tanker closed because there was a hole in it. And obviously, fuel plus flame, not always a good thing. These guys came in.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, you would think people would know that. So I reckon if you're going to be stupid enough to steal fuel, yeah, there's some bad stuff that's going to happen to you down the way. This stuff is not good. Apparently, Coat Corner is what you were thinking of, Flax. Siabonga says it's in Kempton Park and it's called Coat Corner. Huh.
Very possible that is the one.
You must know how the economy of South Africa is doing if we're talking about thrift stores rather than advertising major brands, right? I mean, this tells you a lot about what's going on, how people are trying to save money left, right, and center. Am I right?
I think thrifting could be the future. How many times do you buy clothes you never wear, still have the tag on, or you've worn it twice and you're like, oh, I'm not that interested? You can still make 70 to 80% of your money back just by thrifting it.
I used to waste so much money on buying clothes. and then I'd get home and I'd look at them and go, what the hell did I buy here? I don't do that anymore, though. Now I'm much more careful.
I remember you used to bring some of your old clothes to studio, and I got a few of them, and it was like the weird, all of these clothes with like sayings on the logos, like, you know, those funny shirts.
Yeah, I used to get a lot of those though from, you know, like you'd get them as gifts because people would want their brand advertised or whatever, so they'd send me free T-shirts, and I always, most of them were rubbish, so I just used to bring them and give them to whoever wanted them. I hadn't even worn any of them. All right, so a couple of things that we've got to catch up on here in the comments quickly. Eric says, I love all the CliffCentral team, but when can we get a catch up with Mabali and Sia? Well, we've put out the invite, and I promise you we'll get everybody in eventually. Mabali is very hard to track down, and she's actually got a serious job now, so she's not available to just bugger around with us willy-nilly. But we'll try and get her. I promise you we haven't given up. So we're going to keep trying with all of those people. We're now flexing on other people's old money. I think that's what thrifting is, though, Ethan, isn't it? Beth says, I got an awesome mid-century style armchair at the Cat charity shop for 100 Rand. I'm going to fix the legs and reupholster it. Yeah, that's a nice project to do. I think that's cool. Yeah. K&A wants to know about the dogs, Flax. So I got a new puppy, and she's busy sleeping here on her little bed right now while I'm doing the show. What happened to your friends' influencer dogs who were living their best life?
Oh, shame. So they lived their best life through and through, and then both of them passed happily in their sleep. They were very old. When did they die? The one died, Mascara died about a month ago. She passed in her sleep, but I mean, she was really, really old and like lived her best life. She couldn't have been a happier dog. And then Dory passed about 5-6 months ago. His body was just riddled with cancer.
Shame, man. Yeah. Got a friend. Friend called me yesterday. This is so weird. And she phoned me at like 9 o'clock at night. I was already in bed. And she said, sorry to call you so late. So I said, no, it's not a problem. And she said she just found out that a friend of hers who was at school with her died like a year and a half ago, and she only found out about it now, which is kind of weird because these days, you know, with social media and everything else, you'd think you'd find out straight away, right? Especially because you're probably friends with the people that you were at school with, or at least some of the ones that you like. And she only found out about this now, and the person died like a year and a half ago. That's pretty wild. I haven't heard of delays like that for a long time. I mean, it's not, 1804 where you had to wait for the ship bringing the news from Europe for you to find out if your friend was still alive. It's kind of bizarre that it took a year and a half for her to find out that a friend she was at school with is dead.
It's so true how we find out a lot from social media. Like someone can die, all of a sudden Facebook's telling you, people commenting on their wall, wishing them their family a long life. And it's actually, social media plays a massive role in society today for passing of information, like more than the newspaper.
Well, you just think about how, for example, before we didn't know if our friend had broken up with their girlfriend or their boyfriend. We had to find that out by asking them ourselves. Now you go into someone's profile and you can pretty much tell when the photos have changed, like they...
So true. I just saw that now. A friend of mine, well, actually, I used to work with this person and they just changed their profile photo. And now I'm like, they're 100% broke up or they're going through a fight. I can either like it and get involved in the fight and find out more, follow the post.
It's never worth it. So the funny thing is too that there's this one friend of mine and he was in a very serious relationship with this girl for, I don't know, they were together for probably about 4 years. So most of his pictures on his Instagram were of the two of them together, right? Suddenly, about 2 months ago, he's only got 2 photos left on social media. Everything else has been just ghosted, deleted, destroyed. Flax, can you just check your cables? Your connection is sounding a bit crackly. Just check all your connectors because it sounds message when you talk to me. Someone's just sent me a message from the studio to let me know. Try now.
How about now?
Talk
Testing.
to me.
1, 2. Testing. 1, 2.
Okay, I'm going to throw you out. Come back in. All right. Let me just take him out of the studio, and then he can come back in, and we can see if it's any better. While he's doing this, so this guy had all these pictures of him and his girlfriend, but not only them. It was like with her friends and with her family and with his family and his friends, but like a lot of them were them together. Suddenly, 3 months ago, all gone. Only 2 pictures of him, like him with his brother, him at work, and the rest had gone, just disappeared. So I think this is the way that you tell. Check it now.
Are we good? Tell me we're good.
Yeah, much better, much better.
Because I had no clue from there on.
No, it was just going crackly and it sounded like a bad connection. Anyway, it's all good now. So yeah, you can normally tell, even if they don't announce it, that there's something that's changed in the relationship. And it's also funny. Yeah.
They play out their lives, and there's some bit inside them that's like, I hope someone notices what I just did. I hope someone messages me, is everything all right? Because you changed your display picture. And it's like, why should you sort out your shit with your significant other instead of doing it online?
Well, there is that cry for kind of attention, which a lot of people do. But I think what happened also during the past 2 years is there were a lot of people who felt very isolated and lonely and who wanted desperately to just be noticed. And so they would do, like, I noticed a lot of people who were changing their profile pictures regularly on WhatsApp, not even like Instagram. You'd go onto WhatsApp and you'd suddenly see, oh, this person. I always get a little bit worried when somebody removes their profile picture, when they just have an empty icon. I'm always like,
on WhatsApp.
Yeah, like there's this one friend of mine. She often just doesn't have a profile picture. So it's that gray circle with the little, like the figure of a person. It's like it's meant to be like a face. And whenever she does that, it's usually because she's going through some shit, which is often by the looks of things. So she won't put her profile picture on. Another friend of mine who does a similar thing, she told me that she won't do it because she uses that number for work, and her number is like up all over the place on like, she's an estate agent, so it's on boards and things. And she doesn't want people like creepy guys just like hitting on her the whole time. So she doesn't have a profile picture. But I often wonder about people who are changing their profile picture all the time. And especially if they, it's always like, you want a nice profile picture, but there's a limit. Like you can't have this airbrushed studio picture of yourself up and keep changing it with other ones that are just as like self-aggrandizing and self-serving. It's just like there's some people who are just so into themselves that you could see they spend hours and hours thinking about that profile picture and changing it and putting a new one up. It's outrageous. Dogoza says, breaking up while on social media is kind of embarrassing. Deleting your posts and having to talk about it before you may be ready to tell everyone else about it. Yeah, you just also, if you've got pictures of you with an X up, leave them. What's going to happen?
Yeah, it's a part of your life. It's your history. You put it up there. It's your timeline. You put it up there.
You can't delete 2 years of your life. Get over yourself.
No, you can't. And like if a new significant other comes into your life, they can't be like, oh my God, you've got photos of your ex on your Instagram wall. No, I've got photos of my past on my Instagram wall. She was part of my past.
Correct. And if you did delete it, that would be weird. Parallel Parking says humans are starved of intimacy, and that's a really good point. Being online with others is just a porn version of intimacy. There are so many humans now who don't even know that intimacy is something that you might want. Everything is so public. Yeah. That's a very good observation.
Yeah, interesting view on it.
I don't think a lot of people even know what intimacy is anymore. And I agree with parallel parking. That's what, that's such a good point. I've often seen people who you can see they can get attention, they can get sex, they can get family love, or they can create drama, but they can't get intimacy. And intimacy is like a different kind of attention. It's a very special kind of attention. Something some people love, they want, they crave. It's something other people aren't that into. But it is hard to find if you can't find the authentic kind. There's no way to make fake intimacy, if you know what I mean. Tracy
I
says
feel like
she's had the same profile pic for 5 years now. Oh yeah, look, I mean, I probably have too. I don't think I've changed mine.
Yeah, maybe 2-3 times every 2 years I'll change a profile photo. It's just, and if I change a profile photo, if I change it on Facebook, I quickly go delete so no one can see I've changed it, and then it just changes. So I'm not there to tell everyone I changed it.
Yeah. I deleted all of my posts, says Ntokozo, after having broken up with my ex-fiance. You see, you shouldn't have done that. The reason many people delete is they're a painful reminder. It's easier to move on if you erase the constant reminders. Yeah, fair point. But, you painful reminders is part of who you are. You can't delete that part of your life. You can't delete your experiences. You can't pretend it didn't happen.
Very true. Most people delete their ex out of their life, out of their mind. But the truth is, you learned so much from that person. That person shaped and influenced you into the person you are today. You rather focus on the gratitude you have for them and what they've done for you, instead of just deleting them out your life. You're then like some psychopath that can just eliminate thoughts and experiences that had a positive influence. You're just unable to recognize it. Does that make any sense?
Partly. I'm not gonna dissect it, but I think that your general point of view here is correct. That you can't change your past, so you may as well just keep it up there and be proud of it. If Facebook or Instagram or anything else is like a record of your life, then you don't get to choose which chapters you show off and which ones you don't. When you put that stuff up, you were proud of it. You can't suddenly decide 3 years later, okay, well, I'm going to sanitize this whole thing now. I mean, I suppose you could, but what are you hiding? Why are you hiding? It's part of you. I remember we talked about this many years ago. It could even have been before we started doing the podcasts. But there were a lot of women who used to put up their wedding picture, even though they're like, it's 20 years ago now or 10 years ago that they got married, because that was the picture of them that they liked the most. Is there something wrong with that if someone still has their wedding picture up like 10 years later? Is that freaky and creepy and weird? Should those people be called out, or should they feel embarrassed that they're still using a picture from 10 years ago?
It depends if they're very active on social media. If they're very active, maybe put an updated photo. Like, it can still be you and your husband. Doesn't have to be from the wedding. But if it's just something, if Facebook's just something you use for birthday reminders and just to consume instead of produce content, then no one's looking at your profile, and just put whatever you want.
I don't know. I think if you've got your wedding picture up 10 years later, it's time for you to find a new picture. I mean, even if your marriage is great and everything's going fine and you're really proud of that picture because you looked so good, I think you could probably update it. That could do with an update. 5 years is probably the max. What do you think? You agree?
I have friends that literally they just consume on Facebook. They don't ever post comments, and their profile photos from like 12 years ago. They don't care what people think of their profile. They're not trying to make their profile look amazing or great. They just exist on Facebook to consume information.
They're looking at everyone else's stuff all the time.
Yeah.
That's all right then. Not the end of the world. I see a new comment here from Siabonga. I don't know if he's ever commented before, but he says, Flax, oh no, I want all my exes to be hit by a comet or by lightning. I don't care how much impact they've had on my life. And Siabonga, I don't know if you've ever been on the comments before, but I like what you're saying here. He also put up a comment earlier, said that he found a friend of his, listen to this, talking about dead friends. My bestie from school surprisingly called me one night from his cell at Lukop prison a few years ago, and I would go and visit him. He got out and I supported him. How's that? Your one mate from school ends up in jail. He then borrowed money from me before he ghosted and disappeared again. I found out recently that he died 1.5 years ago. Like, he was really one of my best friends. Wow. How's that?
Mad.
Huh? Yeah, you've got to keep in touch with people. Speaking of keeping in touch with people, I'm really pleased that we've got Arya Kellman on the one day where he's got like 20 minutes to spare us because he's working so goddamn hard. How the hell are you, Kellman?
What's up, man? How are you?
What's happening?
Nice to see you. We've got Flax and Kellman on one morning show. How are you doing, dude? I haven't seen you in such a long time. I mean, we've kind of kept in touch, and I know you see Rena quite often, and I got to congratulate you, first of all, on how hard you're working. I know you're building up this incredible business in Tilt, and we'll talk about your business in a moment. But how are you doing? I hear you got a new puppy.
I did, yes. Shame. Am I going to wake him up and show him to you? Is that the question?
I think you have to. I think you have to. We got to see the dog.
We should just have a
He's
puppy
right
party.
here.
All right, let's see the dog. Hang on. There he is. We got to check out. Show and tell.
Little CliffCentral debut.
Oh, cute.
Man. What is
There
he,
you
little
go.
French bulldog?
Yes, he is. His name is Falco, and shame he's not having zoomies right now, but he does get zoomies. And when he gets zoomies, he's very, very playful. But it's only about 30 minutes of the day, and for the rest, he's pretty chilled actually. Yeah.
So how are you,
Cute.
Kellman? What's been happening with you, man?
Yeah, it's funny you say I found 20 minutes. When Dory said you want to catch up, I was like, absolutely, but I promise you I'm not more interesting. Don't put me on for more than 20 minutes because I'm not that interesting. I very much have a sort of routine of working
bullshit.
and traveling, and that's about the gist of it. So not the most interesting person, but otherwise no complaints. I think it's been an incredible kind of past. It's crazy to speak to you because it's been about 5-6 years since I worked at CliffCentral, but it's been an incredible run. And on the whole, everything is fantastic. My parents are great. Grant, my partner's great. Business is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's really nothing to complain about.
No, dude, I've only heard good things, but don't ever say that you're boring because building a business will sap your creativity, but it doesn't mean your creativity goes away. And you've always been a hugely creative guy. And I mean, part of what you do in your business is, this influencer marketing. You have to think creatively. You have to be at it all the time. And if you're building something from scratch, you know this, I know this, Flax, even you know this. It takes an enormous amount of energy and effort. That's kind of becomes your obsession. Aren't you lucky you don't have children? Because then you'd have to split your attention between the puppy, the children, and work. One of them would lose.
Yes, yeah, that would be quite a balancing act.
No. Oh wait, while we're doing show and tell, hang on, let me just get little Alice. She's
Oh,
almost.
yes.
How old is she now? She's
I feel
like
like
5.
I need to get a dog.
You bring a plush toy, Flax.
I was actually babysitting my roommate's dog last night. He's so cute, and he snores. It's adorable.
Yeah, here
Look
she
at
is.
little Alice there.
Oh, cute.
See, we need a play date.
I
Anyone who
think
doesn't
you're-
like dogs, hates this conversation, by the way. They're turning off now. They don't understand the obsession at all.
It's amazing. Like non-dog people are like, oh, that's so boring. What is it? These people? It's like people who show their children's pictures at like lunches and braais and dinners and things. They're like, oh, just here's my 3-year-old and here's my 1-year-old and they're so cool. And you're like, no, not really. They're actually boring because they're your children and no one else cares. But yeah, I can't help it. When people start showing their children's pictures, then I show my dog picture.
Is everyone's
Same
dogs
thing.
their screensavers?
No, no, I don't even have a screensaver at the moment. It's a plain black screen. It's ridiculous. So let me remind you, Arya Kellman used to host the afternoon show on CliffCentral.com. He used to do the only other live show, and he was busy even then. He interviewed probably every famous and half famous and infamous person in South Africa over a period of, what was it, 3-4 years? You talked to
something like
everyone,
that.
dude. You probably spoke to every musician. You probably spoke to every artist, every content creator, long before some of these people became the huge influencers and the famous people that they are now. You knew everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gave me a good grounding because a lot of the people that I spoke to are people that we continue to kind of work with now. But it was this amazing kind of opportunity to speak to. I mean, we would speak to up to like 10 different people in any sort of 2-3 hour show. And people had sort of elements that they owned with sort of their regular segments. So yes, I had a lot of conversations. I think I used up a lot of words. It definitely gave me the gift of the gab, which is very important to what I do now. But it was incredible to speak to so many different people. And I think what it does that people don't realize is that there's very often in life people you want to have conversations with. And it kind of gives you an excuse to have a conversation with them, like a context, as opposed to approaching them randomly. So there's definitely a power in having a platform like that where you can speak to people under the guise of kind of something else, but really just being interested in who they are and trying to build a relationship with that person.
Well, you were one of the founding members of CliffCentral, and you were there from the very beginning, and you actually brought Flax in. I remember we didn't know who he was or where he'd come from because he was just suddenly there one day. We were like, oh, he must be part of the like Comedy Central film crew or whatever. Meanwhile, you'd snuck him in, and he ended up being part of the furniture for a long time.
And I have to say that Flax is an incredible, I mean, he's just gone from strength to strength. We still work with each other up until today and do some exciting stuff. And it's great to see him on this. Whenever he's on, I watch as well. And he's really, he's grown so much. You're entering a little bit of a like, Ari sharing admiration for Flax. I'm sure he'll share some for me in a second. So you unfortunately have to be witness to this. But yes, we're big fans of each other.
So, all right, tell us quickly about Tilt, because a lot of people might not know about your business that you've been building in the background quietly and doing incredible stuff, by the way. Some of the campaigns and some of the people that you've been working with, it's really massive. Tell us about Tilt.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, what we do is content creation and influencers. And very often we take the content that we create or co-create with the influencers and we put it on their platforms. And they essentially are the media channels. So we think of someone's Instagram page as a radio station or a TV station where you can put content. Right. The trick, of course, and where it starts to get a little bit murky is how do you create authentic content that still serves a brand purpose and keep the influencer purpose and the brand purpose in kind of one thing. And sometimes we win and sometimes we don't. But it is such a new sphere that there is really no expert in it. It's almost a gravitation back to the origins of successful advertising, which was word of mouth. And word of mouth now just lives in a digital context where people have more ears that what they say can fall onto.
It's superb. It's really hard to reach people and to make a message count these days. And you have to think in such obviously different and creative ways to make any impact at all. Because there's such competition for people's ears and eyes and for their attention right now. So it's a tough business to get into. And obviously you also need to know the market really well, because influencer marketing can be very complicated. You could get the wrong influencer for something and it has zero impact. You get the right person and it could go through the roof.
Yes, yeah, that is the art of choosing the correct influencer for something. And there's quite a big sort of chemistry process we go through. It's a little bit of, I mean, it's in the real world, that's dating. A brand has to date a person, see if there's a fit. Does it resonate? Obviously, with digital, it becomes a lot more quantifiable because you can see how many people something reached or how many clicks there were or how many coupons were redeemed on something. But for the most part, it is quite a balance to strike.
So, Kellman, I hate to tell you this, but there are a lot of people already starting a petition to get you back on a show. He doesn't have time. I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way he's going to be able to do that. But Siabonga wants to join in. Tracy says, sign me up. So people are missing you, dude. They're missing your shows. There was always so much going on. I remember those shows. The afternoons were like, it was like a train station. There were people coming in and going out and sitting around, and like the whole place just turned into it was chaos. I remember at one point there were people, there were wild animals, there were strippers, there were dancers, there were people in like bizarre outfits, drag queens. There were all kinds of things happening around there virtually every afternoon, Monday to Friday. It was ludicrous.
Yeah, I think it's a testament, though, to kind of what the platform is and what it kind of continues to be, which is this amazing open space for people to be creative and to express themselves. and to have kind of unfiltered conversation, which is really what it was and what it continues to be when I sort of consume your show as well, which is really something amazing. I know everyone thinks that by virtue of having a social media platform, they can express who they are, but there's a validity and a credibility that comes with sort of a broadcasting platform and expressing it on that platform that gives it a little bit of a nuance and a sort of credibility that maybe you don't get when you just go live on Instagram.
Well, you created a lot of really interesting things on that show, including Relax, It's Flax. People still ask about that. I know.
That was a vibe. That was a proper vibe. On a Friday afternoon, it was so sick. I mean, going back, sometimes I listen to those old podcasts. I was so obsessed with Justin Bieber. Like, he was my life.
Hey, Flax, we haven't spoken about the fact that he's basically had like a stroke or something and the guy can't move one side of his face. Have you been paying attention?
I saw that. I'm more into his music now than like his actual life. I'll definitely be going to his concert in September. But in terms of celebrities and that, I'm like not so interested in celebrities' lives anymore. I don't care about the Kardashians or Kanye West. Yeah. I'm more like into real life at the point in my own life. I think I've reached a stage where I have so many things going on and my problems are my problems that I can't actually focus on these celebrities anymore. But we used to go into it on a Friday.
Now you know where I was when you were doing Relax, It's Flax on a Friday, and you were like talking about Bieber, and I was going, huh? Because I was in the position that you're in now, so you can imagine. But we could start a new one called Ma Laugh with Flax. That could be quite fun.
With pizza, you have to do it over pizza.
With pizza, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Kellman, you mentioned your mum. She was a regular feature on your show as well, and her dog is quite famous. You talk about famous dogs. That dog is like an influencer.
Yes, in fact, the dog has done influencer campaigns. So I'll do a shameless plug if you're on TikTok or Instagram to follow at It's Princess Kiara. I think it was probably halfway through lockdown, which, I mean, we're probably still in lockdown, but halfway through that, I kind of introduced my mom to Instagram. I didn't really think much of it. And I flash forward a couple of months, the dog had a closet. It has clothes coming in from all around the world. It has friends in different countries. It creates TikToks. It just hit 10,000 followers on TikTok now. And it's got, I think, just under 20,000 on Insta. So she's really taken it and she's run with it. And I think she's got the perfect dog to do it because it's a Pomeranian. I think some dogs would be a little bit fussed being potted and put into dresses every couple of hours.
Pomeranians don't care. Those dogs are like the Kardashians of dogs.
The perfect dog. But she loves it. And it's crazy to me, though, just the communities that social platforms have built. I mean, there's a Pomeranian community, and it's not like, I think 10 years ago, it was like, maybe 6 or 7 people would gather at a Doppio Zero to talk about their Pomeranians. Now it's like, she's got a friend in Australia, she's got a friend in the States, and they really like, you can build such niche communities with no border. It's, it's crazy. And it's a little bit obsessive, and it's probably errs on the side of caution in terms of how you should feel about your dog. But she loves it and she gets a lot of joy out of it. And Kiara just gets lots of treats. The dog's overweight because every photo has to give a treat, and then the dog gets overweight. So that's
getting
story.
So how did you? Because I mean, I haven't caught up with you in such a long time. How did lockdown go for you? And I mean, how does that affect the business? How did it affect your home life? How did it affect your relationship? I mean, it must have been a bit tough on you, like it was on everybody. But how did you get through it with your head on your shoulders?
So I'll give you the commercial answer because, I think entrepreneurially now, and then the personal answer. The commercial answer was that was great because we took all budgets for kind of other marketing activities, whether it was events or whatever, and it all just got plowed into digital. When people can't shoot TV ads, they just put that money elsewhere. Granted, there was probably less money on the table. But from a commercial perspective, it really, influencer and digital soared in that period, and we had incredible growth. There was probably about 2-3 months from that March period that people were unsure. But once they realized that they could still communicate and connect using digital more than what they'd anticipated, it really sort of started a strong trajectory around propelling digital. And then personally, I mean, I could give you the very Instagram-friendly answer of it was a time to self-reflect and all that, but this thing's been shit. It's been horrible. People have, you know, it's been really, really shit. I don't think anyone wants to relive a pandemic so that they can have a personal introspective experience and sit at home. We want to be out, we want to be doing stuff. And it's, you know, those first few months were super scary as well, because you don't know. You think suddenly these Hollywood movies are, you know, what your life is going to become with this disease that's out there that's spreading. And ironically, I feel like I'm the last person to, but I got COVID like 2-3 weeks ago. I didn't even realize it was COVID. I just had like bad sinuses and stuff. And then I got tested and I had it. And it was shit. And the whole thing's just been shit. And you really have to tune into Hanan every week on your show to try and find some silver lining in it. But for the most part, I think it's been a challenging period. I understand that everyone says challenge makes you stronger and you never lived through a world war. But really, I do feel like I could have done without that challenge. And hopefully there are lessons out of it.
Dude, I'm so in agreement with you. And that's part of the reason we've got Hanan on a Monday, because I think a lot of people just need a pick-me-up and like someone who's sensible, who can see their way through this stuff. Because otherwise we're inclined to like feel sorry for ourselves and get depressed. And maybe that's just part of the experience. And maybe it does build character. I don't know. But you've also got to just get on with it. There's stuff happening all the time. There's lots of reasons. I know you've always been a hugely optimistic person. You're very positive. You see lots of opportunities where other people see problems. And I think that's one of the reasons I've always liked being around you and hearing your thoughts on things. Flax, what are you actually busy with at the moment? We never talk about your business. We never talk about what you actually do for a living.
So I thankfully get to work with Ariel a lot. Ariel Tilt is the #1 influencer marketing agency in the world. And I work with TikTok, so putting ads on TikTok. And we need creators, and Tilt produce some of the most phenomenal content. Tilt.com.
So I wish we could get the .com.
Oh, is it .co.za? Sorry.
Ari, what about the kind of content that people are paying attention to? Now, this has always blown my mind. And Flax, you can also talk about this because it's something in your area of expertise too. Like, how is TikTok such a thing when people are really just dancing? I mean, like, I've seen some of this stuff because I'm not on TikTok. I know that that's embarrassing and I shouldn't admit it to you two above all. But like, some of this stuff is so dumb. And I know I'm a grumpy old man, so it's probably not for me. But like, how does someone who does a little dance in front of a camera end up with like 200 million views? And how does that help a product to get sold? And I think a lot of our listeners are probably asking those questions. You guys are the best people to answer it.
You see, before you go on TikTok, you think TikTok's just dance videos and young kids doing dance videos. And then you go onto TikTok. And then it's this endless realm of whatever you want. Air fryer videos, dog videos, everything. And the thing is, like, people do product reviews on TikTok. People do unboxing on TikTok. People trust the information on TikTok. People turn to TikTok for information. So when you start with campaigns and you start with using influencers and doing product reviews, people actually purchase the product. There's a hashtag TikTok made me buy it. And even if you go into exclusive books, Anton City right now, you'll see there's an entire section called Book Talk. It's books that people reviewed on TikTok, and people will buy that.
Love it. I love it.
It's this new sensation.
I would be lying to you if I didn't say I enjoy some of those unboxing videos and some of that stuff. I really do. I like that shit a lot. And I went down the rabbit hole of watching those. They're on Instagram as well, but it probably started on TikTok. You know those things where that pneumatic press like pushes down and breaks things? They have this really powerful press, and it just destroys like everything. These people put like toys under there and paper and glassware and action figures and God knows what else. And they just break them. And I mean, I could watch that shit for hours and never get bored. So is that what you're saying is the attraction here? Is like you could find your niche and there's something for everybody?
100%. And then they start learning your algorithms and start presenting you things that you never knew existed, but you like. They parallels to your needs and wants now. And that is what I found the most remarkable thing, because that's data learning you and then presenting to you what you like and what you might like in the future.
Yeah, that's clever. Ari, how does it work from your point of view? Like, how do you identify who these people are who, have the potential to reach hundreds of millions of people with their TikToks? How do you know which ones to put the money into?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just to build on Flax's point quickly around sort of TikTok. It's an evolution of kind of how you engage with content, in that Instagram, Facebook, and that you follow specific people or you're friends with specific people. Whereas TikTok, the first thing you see is sort of a content theme, and then you follow that content theme. So it's a real shift in how people sort of discover content. And that algorithm is so good at figuring out that you are interested in that press thing, that it'll serve it to you again and again without you knowing who those people to follow were. So Instagram, you open it up, you see who you follow. TikTok, you open it up, you see what content you follow, and it serves you that as the primary piece, which is a fundamental shift in how people consume and get content aggregated to them. In terms of finding the people, I mean, Instagram, a majority of our work sits on that platform, but it's become incredibly contrived in the influencer space.
Yeah.
And it serves a specific genre of influence. It works well for beauty. It works well for kind of, FMCG products. It doesn't necessarily work well for a lot of other stuff. Whereas with TikTok, it's so interest-based that it can serve every brand. Because if you are a book pressing company or whatever it is, you can find that influence. And the best thing that we found on TikTok is that 90% of the people to be approached to create content don't even know what being an influencer is. They don't know what a rate card is, because they are a mom who's got 2 kids that loves making a specific sort of type of food on the weekend, and that's why we're approaching them and finding them. So it's really been a massive shift. And I think a lot of people have the perception you do. I certainly, even though like I'm 32 or whatever, I did not want to learn something new, because as a human being, that's the natural inclination. I really don't want to be challenged. I understand the model for this. Can we not just pursue this? But playing with it over the last couple of sort of year or two, it's shown a different side of sort of content. And the other thing to say is that it demands so much more of the creators because it's video heavy. This idea of kind of take a picture and it's a beautiful picture and get likes, I think that era is kind of passed a little bit. Now the sort of creator has to do a little bit more work and invest a little bit more effort.
I think so. This is actually the best argument I've heard for getting TikTokers from you two. So I might have to do this now. I might actually have to get on there and see what's what. I mean, we're doing, like, there's a whole CliffCentral channel on TikTok, which I know Sibs and, I mean, Homo Lemo runs it along with Mash, along with Simpiwe. They're all busy doing that at the moment, and they've put some incredible stuff on there. Of course, Aria, you'll be thrilled to know that Jane Malachi is one of our most popular stars on TikTok, even to this day. Whenever Jane does anything, it becomes massively popular. So that to me was always a sign, like, stay away from TikTok, because I mean, being with Jane in real life is terrifying enough, but when you have to see her on your social media as well, that's even more scary.
Oh, I miss Jane. I'm glad that she's becoming a TikTok star, though. I'm going to reach out for her rate card. I'm sure she'll be the most expensive of anyone else who ever worked.
Oh, you charge like a wounded buffalo, guaranteed. Oh, man. Listen, it's so good to catch up with you. I'm really excited to hear about all these things that you're doing.
It's so great to be with you as well. And I always, whenever I connect with Rena, I always sort of say that the fundamentals of everything I do now, which is still storytelling, was very much rooted and is rooted in what those sort of founding years of CliffCentral was, which is creating a platform to tell stories. I just do it with a slightly more commercial lens now and telling brand stories versus human ones, which is, I've entirely sold out, but that's okay.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. You need the business to be successful, and you need to make money. This is 2022. Nobody's wandering around looking for attention anymore. Everybody's looking for ways to make cash. And if you can find a way to plug people and brands into each other and make it work like you have, that's an excellent way to spend your time. Very, very cool. And we like Falco. Very cool dog.
Yes, yeah, he's cute. He's on an upward trajectory. He's not going to get Instagram anytime soon, but he will feature on @itsprincess Kiara's platforms.
Oh, okay.
You have to keep a bit of mystique and a little bit of privacy for things. Without, you don't want to get the dog and then suddenly the dog's. No offense to my mom.
Yeah. Sure. No, your mum's dog is a real star. This I wouldn't want my dog to be a star again. I mean, I think Carl was a pretty big influence in his day, but I think Alice is going to be much more private. I don't think she's that interested.
Carl was the most famous dog in South Africa. Covered the You magazine once. I mean, if that's not massive, then
dog was on the cover of You.
Oh, I mean, like that was the biggest thing you could do in South Africa once, is to be on the cover of You magazine. You ruled the world. There was a
just
time.
Carl, or Carl and You.
Me with Carl, but I mean, you know.
Oh, I was like, this dog is very famous.
But he did get on the cover of some dog magazine, just him. So that shows you that's true influence. So K&A wants to have me check out Tumi the Narrator on TikTok, the best comedy in South Africa. Do you know who Tumi the Narrator is? Anybody?
Yeah, I think Tumi's great. Comedy's obviously massive. I promise you, if you spend an hour on it, that algorithm will figure out what you want. Well, statistically, because I know that you're a man of numbers and science. Statistically, they say that if you spend an amount of time
open
on
the app.
Just
open it now, and you can see I've never been on before. It says choose your interests. I've never done this before, so it's thanks to you two. So K&A says, Gareth, Leanne has told you this stuff millions of times. I know. So Leanne has been on my case to get onto TikTok as well, and I've just ignored and avoided. And it was especially because like Leanne didn't sell it to me very well. She's like, well, there's fun stuff and dancing and shit. And I'm like, no, that doesn't sound exciting. It's much better when you talk about unboxing or pneumatic presses breaking shit, and that's what I want to see. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, it's not social media. It's creator content. It's a content platform, not a social media platform, which makes it so unique. And that's why it eliminates time, because you're not getting a fix as soon as you see like a pretty girl or see someone doing better than you in life or something like that. It's just pure content. People are making content to make you smile, happy, feel an emotion, not just get a fix from someone else's life.
Siabonga says, you mustn't forget the fake Nigerian prophets on TikTok. It made me realize how many sangomas we have in South Africa. That's amazing. Like sangomas and fake prophets. See, if you could create a place for people like that, I think that's terrific. That's awesome. All right. Listen, gentlemen, it's been fun. I hope you've enjoyed catching up with us as much as we've enjoyed catching up with you. And we will definitely talk to you again soon, Arieh. Nice to see you, and lots of luck with the business. We'll obviously be catching up in terms of business soon enough, but it's great to have you on the show and to hear your voice again and for people to see you after a very long time since you were on CliffCentral.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to spend this time with you. What an impressive infrastructure you have here. This is very advanced. I don't even know what I'm on the back end of here.
No, it's cool. People can watch on YouTube, live on Facebook, live on Twitter, and wherever you are, you can comment live as well, which is what we're busy with. So people can hop on and get involved anywhere they like and at any time. Flax, always good to see you. Enjoy your little bush holiday, dude.
Thank you. I'm looking forward. This was fun. This is a great way to start the day.
I know. It's still the best way to start the day. I don't feel like my day's going anywhere if I don't start with this. All right, gents. All right, everybody. Have an excellent time. We will see you tomorrow, 6 o'clock, bright and early. And make sure that you don't miss the Burning Platform with Pumi Mashiko and a whole bunch more. Tomorrow is going to be electric. I'll tell you who is on the show first thing tomorrow morning. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but you're going to love it. It's going to be lots of fun. There's going to be argument, and there's going to be heat, and there's going to be all the stuff that you expect from the Burning Platform, plus a whole lot of fun as well. So stick around. We will see you. And last word from Siabonga says, Gareth, be warned, TikTok is very addictive. Well, you may not hear from me for the rest of the day. We'll see how it goes. Cheers, everybody. Have an awesome